health before performance, getting these kids early. The information that a little leaguer gets and the information that a big leaguer gets should be integrated. It's out there, it's just fractured. The medical community, the coaching community, the PT community all have really good stuff, but somewhere between biomechanics, functional strength, pitch totals, and recovery lies the panacea that these kids need.
John, as this MLB Network special, the pitching dilemma continues. There are pitch counts now, and people pay more attention to them than ever. If anything, some would say that pitchers are babied. Mechanics are studied in a more sophisticated fashion. Why then are we seeing seemingly more pitching injuries?
Well, I was fascinated, just blown away by some of Dr. Andrews' comments about the injuries to the young pitchers. And in talking to David and to Tom House, I think we got to rework this game of baseball. That I think pitchers be better off, particularly in youth leagues, pitching off flat ground. That seems to be something, if I listen to David and Tom, that might eliminate a lot of injuries right there.
Jim, that's huge. You know, we're designed to throw on flat ground. Someone in our ancestry threw rocks at rabbits to eat. So flat ground is the way we've designed ourselves to throw. What happens to kids today, they pitch too much year-round and they don't throw enough. You and I, when we were growing up, I threw rocks at my brother, tennis balls against the garage door. We were throwing all the time. Kids don't do that. They go to the ball field. The only time they throw is when they're in a practice or a game. And then the pitchers are off the mound. And the year-round thing, what Dr. Andrews said about year-round, scares me to death.
I didn't realize, just let me throw this in, I didn't realize I did it by accident. I never pitched off the mound until I was like 15 years old in American Legion ball.
Dirt fields.
Yeah, didn't have little leagues, so you just went out to flat ground and played, and maybe that's why I had the durability I did.
But eventually, you're going to pitch off a mound.
Right, but you're older and your body's more mature.
You've adapted to it. There's windows of trainability. When you look at a kid, there's a neurological window, a muscle window, and a skill window. And what's happened, we're asking 12-year-olds to go to their skill window. We want them to be big leaguers when they're 12 years old. Let them play on flat ground. Let them throw stuff. Throw anything. Stay off the mound, except for game day. Throw it as much as you can off flat ground the rest of the time.
That's a great point. Young guys like King Felix and Clayton Kershaw and those Bulldogs and the guys that take the ball, and their mindset is, I train right, I throw right, and I'm going to do the things that are asked of me to do and not fall prey to, hey, you might get hurt if you throw too many pitches.
I'll give you a quick Tommy John story. Tommy was actually a pitcher, for those of you that might think he was a surgeon, but I had pitched 9 innings against him in Chicago, and the next day I'm at the mound throwing, not pitching, exercising. He's running his laps. He said, "What are you doing? You pitched 9 innings. You can't do that." I said, "Well, I throw every day. It'll rust out before it'll wear out." Well, when he had the surgery, he called me and he said, "Guess what Dr. Jobe told me to do?"
Throw more.
He got his wife in the backyard. Play catch every day. Throw a little more. So I think that's one thing that's lacking.
Nolan and Ruth Ryan. Ruth was actually his catcher in the offseason. And toward the end of his career, Nolan was throwing to contact. Believe it or not, Nolan Ryan throwing to contact. Because he figured out large pitch totals were part of his aging process.
The real question is, how did Ruth Ryan's hands hold up? Ruth Ryan is catching Nolan Ryan?
She was actually a better athlete than he was.
I guess she must have been. Dr. Alchek, how long ago did you...
For the panel, what's harder in the arm? Throwing a 2-pound ball as hard as you can or throwing a 2-ounce ball as hard as you can? What's harder in the arm?
2 ounce.
2 ounce.
Yeah.
The 2-pound ball, your brain knows you can't go fast with it. So the heavy is for strength and flexibility. The light is for nerves and arm speed. So it's a combination of both. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but throwing light is harder on the arm because of the arm speed. Arm speed, velocity doesn't necessarily translate with strength. It translates with arm speed. What hurts the arm is arm speed without functional strength. I hope that made sense.
Do guys listen to you?
No. No, not even my wife. That's everybody.
Well, I tell you, I'd be listening to him because I've learned so much. I mean, I didn't realize by accident, one of my favorite things the day after I pitched, and I used to love to do it with Ozzie Smith in St. Louis because we had AstroTurf. I wasn't worried about hurting a finger. Is I went to shortstop, fielded ground balls, threw off flat ground, over to first, not hard, but that was just a routine day after day. Without realizing it, that was the proper thing to do.
You said it best, Doc. It's repeatability.
Yeah.
And the more you throw, unless you're beating yourself up on the mound, the more you throw, the more you adapt to the throwing motion, The better you are neurologically, the better you can repeat the movement, the more efficient you are, and the healthier you are.
Jim Kopp, 16-time Gold Glove Award winner, nearly 290 victories, and little did we know, left-handed shortstop. Back after this.
There you go. Guys, have we deviated from
Yes.
the kinds of exercises that pitchers really need?
Pitchers always break in their weakest link, the little stuff. So we've kind of flipped, what Gus did was the beginnings of what we're trying to do now, and that's stability, mobility, flexibility work first. Closed chain body work. When you're doing those calisthenics, you call it, you're just moving your body. Then you go isometric, where you can't, there's no movement, so you can't hurt yourself. Isometric isolates where your weak links are. Then you go joint integrity. You talked about off camera doing like 1,500 reps with light dumbbells or moving your arms. That's joint integrity work. So with closed chain body work, fixing the weak links, then go into joint integrity work, then you can go to machines and free weights. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's where the pyramid's kind of all screwed up right now, because most, and again, early, when we were talking earlier, Doc, most of your conditioning coaches in baseball come from the football or track and field arena, which they're all linear explosive lifts, which are great, but we're rotational athletes.
Yeah, I mean, that's, they're
Talk
still
about-
able to compete.
Doc, tell me about recovery. Prepare, compete, repair, recover. I don't think we pay enough attention to recovery. I know there's philosophies out there that once the season's over, don't even pick up a baseball. I think you have to throw year-round. You just can't pitch year-round. You have to do something skill-specific, or you have to readapt the throwing motion in the spring. So how does the medical community feel about recovery?
Well, you know, recovery is something that's not well studied in baseball. It's studied in other sports, particularly endurance sports, you know, bike racing or something
Right.
like that. And, you know, the experts on recovery from those sports all advocate, as you're describing, Tom, active rest. I mean, that's the theme of recovery, that you need to recover from the specific stresses, but you need to keep your body moving. And whether it's flushing out the bad things that are building up, or just keep the muscles working.
Have you am I correct in assuming that ice isn't what it used to be? I'm seeing a lot of negative reports on ice.
Well, ice is an anti-inflammatory, so
Right.
it's good acutely, but it's not, you know, you shouldn't be
Not
icing
by
all the
itself.
time.
I agree.
Exactly.
I had a baseball camp for 30